Have you ever felt that terrifying blank space in your memory right in the middle of an important conversation, or completely forgotten where you left your keys, making you believe your brain is just aging and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop it? The most recent discoveries in the science of neuroplasticity have proven that brain aging is definitely not a one-way street, which means you have the power to literally remodel your mind and reverse years of cognitive decline by changing the daily signals you send to your body. Your brain is not a static and rigid organ that simply deteriorates and loses focus as the years go by, but it is actually a highly dynamic system that is constantly rewiring itself based on your daily choices. The absolute fastest and most effective way to strengthen your entire neural network and improve your processing speed is to consciously change those chemical and physical signals in your favor starting today. I am Edu Rodriguez, a pharmacist, a biochemist, and a health educator. I have been living with type 1 diabetes for over 26 years, and I am a member of the Brazilian Diabetes Society. Today, I am going to walk you through the most evidence-based and scientifically proven ways to strengthen your brain, protect your memory, and ensure your mind stays sharp and focused for decades to come. We are going to structure our conversation today by starting with the easiest and most accessible habits you can adopt right now, which require very little physical effort, but will give you steady and very reliable improvements. After we establish that solid foundation, we will slowly work our way toward the higher impact interventions near the end of our talk, which will require a bit more intention and daily effort from you. However, I can assure you that these more advanced practices will lead to much bigger, deeper, and infinitely more long-lasting improvements in exactly how your brain processes and stores complex information every single day. Let us start with the easiest lever that you can possibly pull right now to protect your cognitive function. Something so simple that you can start today with virtually no major time commitment. I am talking about the daily use of a high-quality multivitamin supplement, and I have to confess that the recent scientific data regarding this specific intervention actually surprised me quite a bit as a healthcare professional. There was a very large and highly rigorous randomized control trial that included over 3,500 people who were closely monitored and evaluated by researchers for a period of 3 full years. These participants were randomly assigned to take either a standard daily multivitamin or a placebo pill, which is just an empty capsule with no active ingredients used strictly for scientific comparison purposes. The results showed that the group taking the daily multivitamin consistently performed significantly better on comprehensive memory tests, especially on those specific assessments that involve the immediate recall of new information. But the absolute most interesting and fascinating finding happened when the scientists compared these memory test scores to what we normally expect to see with natural age-related cognitive decline in the general public. The researchers discovered that the multivitamin group had the equivalent of about 3 full years of preserved memory function, meaning their brains behaved as if they were functionally 3 years younger than their biological age. As a pharmacist, one thing I always want to deeply explore when reading a study like this is whether there was any kind of conflict of interest or hidden bias regarding the corporate funding of the clinical research. As far as the independent data shows, the pharmaceutical company that manufactured the vitamins provided support through a financial grant and donated the actual pills, but they had absolutely zero involvement in designing the trial. Furthermore, the company was completely excluded from analyzing the scientific data or interpreting the final results, as the study was conducted entirely by independent researchers at highly respected academic institutions and prestigious university hospitals. My main takeaway from this robust science is that I am now much more optimistic and confident about recommending a good quality daily multivitamin to support and preserve your long-term brain health and memory function. This is a massive and very real contrast to how I personally used to think about these supplements throughout my initial medical and biochemical training years ago, before these robust studies were published. Until this large trial came out, I was pretty neutral at best on the idea of taking a daily multivitamin, because I simply thought that for most healthy people, they just resulted in producing very expensive urine. That specific attitude came from the fact that we were taught that multivitamins sound great in theory, but they do not actually move the needle since most of the synthetic nutrients do not get fully utilized by the human body. However, This rigorous trial completely changed my mind about the vast potential benefits, especially when it comes to preventing memory loss, fighting cognitive aging, and protecting the delicate structures of your central nervous system. It just goes to show us that closing those very small but persistent nutrient gaps in our daily diet matters a lot more than many of us previously thought, especially as we get older and our natural absorption decreases. Now we are going to move on to the next powerful tool that will drastically help you improve your cognitive function, and that is simply adding much more choline to your daily nutritional routine. Increasing your choline intake is one of the quickest and most effective ways to support your deep focus, your daily memory retention, and exactly how well your brain processes new and complex information at work or at home. The unfortunate reality is that the vast majority of people simply do not get nearly enough of this crucial nutrient through their regular modern diets to truly optimize their brain health and prevent future cognitive issues. Choline is an absolutely essential nutrient for the human body, and your brain actively uses it in two major and fundamentally important ways to ensure you can think clearly and remember details accurately. First of all, this nutrient directly helps your brain manufacture a vital chemical called acetylcholine, which is the primary neurotransmitter that your entire nervous system uses for sustaining attention and facilitating deep learning. Whenever you sit down and try to focus on a difficult task or read a book, your neurons, which are your brain cells, rely heavily on this exact chemical so they can properly talk and connect to each other. The more efficiently and rapidly your individual neurons can communicate and talk to each other through these chemical messengers, the stronger, sharper, and much more reliable your daily memory becomes over time. Secondly, choline also plays a massive role in helping your brain build, maintain, and constantly repair the critical outer protective layer of each and every single brain cell inside your head. You can easily think of this vital outer membrane layer as working exactly like the protective rubber insulation on the electrical wires hidden inside the walls of your own house. When that cellular insulation is thick, strong, and perfectly intact, the electrical signals in your brain move incredibly fast and completely clean, allowing for lightning-fast reflexes and perfectly clear thoughts. But when you lack essential nutrients and that insulation begins to break down and deteriorate, those vital electrical signals get much slower and scattered, and that directly impairs the rapid formation of any new memories. The really nice and convenient part about all of this is that getting enough of this specific nutrient is actually a very simple, highly accessible, and completely natural process through real and whole foods. I genuinely think the easiest, most affordable, and most biologically available way to get a massive dose of high-quality choline into your system is simply by eating whole eggs on a regular basis. If you are enjoying learning about how your fascinating brain and body actually work behind the scenes, please take a quick second to like this video right now, and let me know down in the comments if you already have the healthy habit of eating eggs for breakfast. For the vast majority of healthy adults, consuming just 1 to 2 whole eggs per day, making sure to eat the yolk where all the precious nutrients are concentrated, is really all you need to reach your daily targets. If you happen to not eat eggs or simply want more variety in your meals, you can easily get excellent amounts of this nutrient from healthy fish like wild-caught salmon, tuna, or fresh cod. You can also acquire it naturally from high-quality meats like grass-fed beef or pasture-raised chicken, or even from plant-based sources like organic soybeans, if you strictly follow a vegetarian lifestyle. While some people do choose to take a synthetic supplement capsule, I actually rarely recommend that route, because most individuals should be perfectly able to get all the nutrients they need directly from real and unprocessed food. We have fantastic scientific data to support the power of real food, like a trial involving adults in Japan that found that consuming about 300 milligrams of egg yolk choline every single day created huge improvements. Consuming the exact equivalent of about 2 large eggs per day for 12 continuous weeks significantly improved their verbal memory scores when compared to the group of people who simply took a placebo capsule. We also have incredibly strong and compelling long-term observational data that clearly shows massive protective benefits for the human brain when we look at large populations over many decades of life. Probably the single best example we have is a very large and highly respected study conducted in Finland that carefully followed about 2,500 men over a massive period of 22 years. The final results were absolutely striking and very clear, showing that the men who consistently consumed the highest amounts of this nutrient had a massive 28% lower risk of developing dementia. The people who consumed a higher amount of this vital nutrient also performed significantly better on standard cognitive tests that specifically measure memory retention and the complex ability to speak with verbal fluency. These specific scientific tests directly measure the overall health of the frontal and temporal lobes, which are the highly complex parts of your brain that help you organize information, speak clearly, and make quick executive decisions. The next essential tool we need to discuss is another incredibly simple dietary change you can easily make that will pay massive dividends, not just for your memory, but for your overall metabolic health and longevity. I am talking about the simple act of adding more delicious blueberries to your daily routine, which is arguably one of the most powerful and heavily researched superfoods on the entire planet for your brain health. If you spend any amount of time reading about the science of human longevity, you will quickly notice that blueberries come up constantly in the scientific literature, and there is a very good chemical reason for that. Blueberries are deeply studied because they are incredibly rich in highly potent natural compounds called anthocyanins, which are the specific chemical pigments that give the fruit that beautiful deep blue and dark purple color. Your central nervous system absolutely loves these natural plant compounds because they actively help your body increase the production of nitric oxide, a critical molecule that naturally relaxes and opens up all your blood vessels. When your thousands of microscopic blood vessels relax and widen, your brain instantly receives a massive influx of fresh oxygen and vital nutrients, completely changing how your cells produce pure energy. That massive increase in healthy blood flow alone dramatically improves exactly how flexible, adaptable, and highly responsive your brain feels when you are put in many different stressful or highly demanding situations. The part of the clinical science that usually surprises most people the most is exactly how small of a portion you actually need to consume to start seeing these amazing cognitive and vascular benefits. Eating just about one single cup of blueberries per day is more than enough to completely saturate your system and allow you to see and feel the vast majority of these brain-protecting benefits. And the best news is that it absolutely does not have to be highly expensive fresh blueberries. You can easily use frozen blueberries, which are picked at peak ripeness, or even a high-quality blueberry powder. There was a fascinating double-blind randomized control trial conducted a few years ago that asked older adults to consume just 26 grams of freeze-dried wild blueberry powder every day for 12 weeks. The elderly individuals who consumed the concentrated berry powder showed incredibly clear and measurable cognitive improvements, specifically displaying a much better capacity for the immediate recall of complex information. They also became significantly more accurate and much faster on complicated mental tests that required them to constantly switch tasks and adapt to new rules. And all these amazing changes happened in only 12 short weeks. When you look at the larger body of clinical research regarding this fruit, the positive patterns always stay exactly the same, showing consistent and reliable protection for our delicate neural pathways over time. A massive systematic review that carefully analyzed 9 different clinical trials and looked at over 500 participants confirmed exactly how powerful this simple dietary addition can be for the human mind. The researchers found that simply eating these specific berries significantly improved memory function even in people who already had a clinical diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment and early-stage memory loss. This strongly proves that adding this fruit to your routine is exceptionally good for long-term prevention, and it is equally powerful as a nutritional treatment if there are already early signs of a cognitive deficit. Now we finally need to talk about something that admittedly takes much more physical effort than simply swallowing a multivitamin capsule or eating a delicious cup of sweet berries every morning with your breakfast. However, this specific physical intervention has a much bigger, much deeper, and infinitely more transformative impact on the physical structure of your brain than absolutely anything else we have discussed on this list today. In fact, based on the current clinical literature, I would strongly argue that this is probably the single most potent and effective anti-aging intervention that any human being can possibly do for their mind and body. I am talking about dedicating yourself to a very specific type of consistent aerobic exercise, which physically changes the size of your brain in ways that no pharmaceutical drug currently on the market can replicate. There was an absolute landmark scientific study regarding brain health and memory retention that was published in the highly prestigious proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences several years ago. This was a massive clinical trial where older adults were randomly assigned to either perform regular aerobic exercise or to perform basic stretching and muscle toning exercises for one entire year. The group assigned to the aerobic exercise protocol simply walked briskly on a standard treadmill for about 40 to 45 minutes, exactly 3 times a week, keeping their heart rate moderately elevated. They specifically targeted a moderate intensity, keeping their heart rate at about 60 to 75% of their absolute maximum capacity. And what the scientists found a year later was truly remarkable. After just one single year of performing this consistent but moderate aerobic exercise, the magnetic resonance imaging brain scans of the exercising group showed a massive 2% increase in the physical size of their hippocampus. The hippocampus is the exact anatomical part of your brain that directly handles the complex formation of new memories, deep learning processes, and your ability to navigate perfectly through physical spaces. This physical growth is revolutionary because as we naturally age, the human hippocampus normally shrinks and physically deteriorates by about 1 to 2% every single year, quietly stealing our precious memories. Therefore, this scientifically documented 2% physical increase in brain volume essentially reversed a full year, or possibly even 2 full years, of physical brain aging and structural deterioration in these older adults. If you zoom in a little bit closer on the brain scans, what is even more scientifically fascinating is that the physical increase in brain volume happens specifically in the frontal portion of the hippocampus. This specific frontal area is the exact part of the brain that fundamentally helps you remember physical locations, complex directions, and helps you easily remember where you placed your keys or your wallet. It is also the specific region that helps you effortlessly find your way through a completely new and unfamiliar city without getting lost, which is a specific skill that many older adults start to struggle with over time. But the vast clinical benefits did not just stop at increasing the physical volume and size of the brain. This study also proved that this exercise completely changes your internal neurochemistry for the better. The consistent aerobic exercise directly led to significantly higher circulating levels of a very special and highly protective protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor constantly flowing through their blood. You can easily think of this brain-derived neurotrophic factor as working exactly like a powerful chemical signal that tells your brain cells to rapidly grow, aggressively repair themselves, and continuously multiply. This magical protein actively helps your individual neurons form entirely new physical connections with each other. It helps them fix old cellular damage, and it strongly supports massive neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is simply your brain's incredible natural ability to physically adapt, change its own physical structure, and get fundamentally stronger over time in response to the new challenges you present to it. When your internal blood levels of this specific growth factor go up, you immediately begin to see much better and faster learning, noticeably stronger memory recall, and a massively lower risk of age-related decline. When you powerfully combine all of these incredible physiological things, which are vastly better blood flow, significantly less systemic inflammation, and a massive increase in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, you become unstoppable. This is exactly why consistent aerobic exercise shows a much greater and much deeper cognitive benefit than almost any single nutritional change or expensive dietary supplement could ever achieve completely alone. Physical movement literally changes the physical structure, the vast vascular network, and the entire chemical environment of the brain, giving your mind the exact biological stimulus it desperately needs to rebuild and strengthen itself. And by the way, it is highly important to note that while they used a standard treadmill for their specific aerobic exercise in this clinical study, absolutely any form of moderate continuous aerobic movement will do the job perfectly. The only real rule is that you just need to get your physical heart rate up to at least 60 to 75% of your absolute maximum capacity and keep it there for a sustained period of time. So, For some people, that perfect exercise could be outdoor cycling, getting on the elliptical machine at the local gym, using a rowing machine, or simply going for a nice light jog around your neighborhood. The ultimate secret to longevity is to pick whichever physical exercise that you actually truly enjoy doing on a daily basis, so you can easily maintain that vital consistency without it feeling like a terrible chore. I genuinely hope this comprehensive information was incredibly helpful for your personal health journey, and that you feel empowered to take full control of your cognitive health starting right now today. If this video brought you value and helped you understand your own biology a little bit better, please make sure to subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss out on our future science-based videos. Also, please share this video right now with a friend or a family member who is always complaining about their memory or who simply needs a little bit of scientific encouragement to start taking better care of their brain.